We begin the day with Trump speak. Now, whenever Donald Trump speaks his mind, you can count on something hitting the fan. Well, tonight, the stench of insults, astonishment, and worry hovers over Europe. In just 5 days, Donald Trump will become the 45th president of the United States. And those transatlantic ties that have been the foundation of U.S. foreign policy for decades, well, they may be about to be trumped. In his latest interview, the president-elect put NATO on geriatric notice. He again became Brexit's best friend, and to the most powerful woman in the world, he said, "I respect her, but..." And the story picks up there.
A familiar view from a comfortable office. The US president-elect at home in Trump Tower, New York. As the interview kicked off, Trump soon settled into his familiar style, taking a dig at a political opponent, this time Jeb Bush.
Jeb would stand up. I don't know if you ever... He is not a true conservative. Who cares? I am a conservative.
And with that settled, the journalist from Germany's Bild paper asked him if he still stands by his previous comments that Angela Merkel's migrant policy was, quote, insane.
I think she made one very catastrophic mistake, and that was taking all of these illegals, taking all of the people from wherever they come from.
Trump had no such criticism for Russia's President Vladimir Putin.
Who do you trust more if you talk to them, Angela Merkel or Vladimir Putin?
Well, I start off trusting both, but let's see how long that lasts. It may not last long at all.
Who is for you the most important leader in Europe right now? If you look at Europe, if you know that famous saying by Henry Kissinger, which number do I dial if I want to talk to Europe? Which number
I would say Merkel
dial?
is by far the most important leader. If you look at the UK, I mean, you look at the European Union, it's Germany.
Yeah.
It's basically a vehicle for Germany.
Trump also told the two journalists he would continue to put out controversial tweets under his Twitter name @RealDonaldTrump. Meanwhile, a pretend Donald Trump enjoyed his few minutes of fame at Washington's Capitol building at rehearsals for Friday's inauguration ceremony.
All right, in a moment, we're going to take a look at the implications of Trump's positions for Europe as well as for NATO. But first, let's hear how German politicians reacted to his latest broadside.
The German government is still scrambling to get a clear picture of future U.S. policy. Chancellor Merkel didn't seem especially impressed by the Trump interview. Instead, she emphasized European solidarity and a wait-and-see approach. My positions on transatlantic questions are known. The president-elect has presented his once again. Once he has taken office, and that is not yet the case, we will, of course, cooperate with the new American government and see what kind of agreement we will reach. In Brussels, the European Union and NATO reacted with dismay to Donald Trump's interview comments. His remark about NATO being obsolete was met with concern and disbelief. I've just finished a talk with the NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. Of course, at NATO, the remark by President-elect Trump that he views NATO as obsolete is being met with concern.
Besorgnis aufgenommen worden ist, dass die NATO für obsolet betrachte.
The U.S. Embassy is right in the center of Berlin's government quarter. It's from here that future U.S. policy will be communicated. Germany's foreign policy experts are not exactly thrilled with Trump's initial announcements. He has his eye on America's short-term interests, especially the economy. I think that's a short-term way of thinking, but above all, it's a threat to the very basis of European security. There's more confusion than clarity among Berlin's political elite in the wake of the president-elect's interview.
Oh, yeah, what an interview that was. I'm joined now at the big table by Dr. Henning Rieke. He heads transatlantic relations at the German Council on Foreign Relations. Mr. Rieke, it's good to have you back here on the day. So, NATO leaders are worried. The German foreign minister is worried. Are you worried?
I am a bit worried because there is a lot of insecurity, a lot of gut feeling reactions of Trump. So a lot could go wrong, of course. But basically, he has some interests that are predictable. It is clear that he wants to create jobs at home, so he wants to cut down on foreign foreign engagements and the costs of foreign engagements of U.S. leadership, and he wants to like show that he can prevail as a businessman, as a deal maker. So he needs a bit of support. He needs his allies. So I think it will be muddling through, but it will not destroy NATO.
The U.S. Secretary of State tonight, John Kerry, saying Merkel was extremely courageous in her refugee policy. Now, Trump calls her decision a catastrophic mistake. Are these two opinions, or are we talking about two different realities?
I mean, you would find these views in Germany as well, of course. I think that Angela Merkel protected the rule of law, the right of asylum in that moment, and she showed some Christian charity more than many other people from the C parties.
Yeah.
So I think in the end, she promised we can make it, and we did. And of course, there are like frictions, consequences that we didn't intend to have. The control was lost for
Right.
some time. But I think people in the hindsight historically will see that this didn't destroy Germany as it was.
You know, Trump also said in this interview something that struck me the strongest. He put Vladimir Putin and Angela Merkel on the same level in terms of respect and trust at the beginning of his presidency. I mean, that has to insult, if not infuriate, the German Chancellor.
I think she learned not to be infuriated, but she will keep these things in mind. I don't think that it will be an easy start for the German-American relations, but people are trying to make the best out of it. I think on any of these personalities, on any of these leaders, he will have a learning curve, and I think it will be steeper in the case of Putin.
Do you believe Donald Trump means what he says? I mean, there's a lot of double-speak going on right now. I mean, you can consider what Trump has been saying about Russia and what his picks for Secretary of Defense or the head of National Intelligence, what they said in their hearings last week, completely different takes on Russia. So this double-speak, I mean, is just being pumped out into the public realm all the time now. What do you believe?
I think Trump knows that he has to make simple messages, that he has to send out like easy phrases, that he has to not to dig too deep into complexities, to make people understand him, to make people think, okay, he thinks like we do, so if things are that simple, that's a good idea. In reality, of course, he will have to lean on people who are knowledgeable, like the Secretary of Defense to be General Mattis, who is a great like NATO hand, who has great knowledge about international alliances, and he will convince him that NATO is a good thing.
You believe that?
I think I believe that.
You believe his cabinet members will have that type of sway over him?
I think they will on issues that have like a great outreach, that have great consequence. That might be so. I mean, he also has a very great sense of loyalty. So I think his support for the National Security Advisor, Flynn, is driven by that sense of loyalty, and Flynn is more radical. So let's see who prevails. Maybe he's working with like competing fractions in his cabinet to see who comes out best. And this is also a leadership strategy.
Briefly, if you will, Mr. Rika, when Trump questions NATO, when he praises Putin, he insults Merkel, I mean, what influence or impact does that have on the elections that are coming up later this year? I mean, is he going to affect what happens in September?
I think his campaign and the strategies that he applied there will be a model for populist parties here. But if there is a conflict, a friction very early on, the German or the European leaders cannot really afford to confront him. But they have to offer something. It's smart to make European countries pay more for the defense. So there is some leeway actually to engage in a cooperation in a positive sense with some offerings at hand.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see what happens. I mean, Friday is the start, right?
Yeah.
All right. Dr. Henning Rika with the German Council on Foreign Relations. Mr. Rika, as always,
thanks for
coming on the day.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.